Imagine waking up one morning to find your best friend in bed with your husband. Not a stranger, not someone far away, but the very woman you trusted with your secrets, your children, your home. My name is Clara Mitchell. I am 30 and I live in Canada. And this is the story of how my perfect life shattered, and how I pieced it back together in the most unexpected, unforgettable way. Before we dive into this story, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our next episodes. I used to believe in fairy tales. Thought I had one. My husband, Daniel, was charming, reliable. The kind of man who lit up a room. My best friend, Naomi, was the sister I never had. Loyal, witty, always there when I needed a shoulder. Together, the three of us were inseparable. Or so I thought. For 10 years, Daniel and I built a life. We had a beautiful daughter, Sophie, who filled our home with laughter. We weren't rich, but we had love, and for me that was everything. Until the cracks started to show. It began with late nights at work, excuses that didn't add up, whispers Naomi quickly changed the subject on. I brushed it off. After all, these were the two people I trusted most in the world. But deep down, something wasn't right. And then, one night, I saw it with my own eyes. It was a Friday evening, the kind where the rain pattered against the windows, and Sophie had finally fallen asleep after a long day at school. I'd forgotten my phone in the living room, and as I walked down the hallway, I heard laughter. Familiar voices. Daniel's voice. Naomi's voice. My heart lifted at first. Maybe he'd invited her over to keep me company. But then I froze. The laughter wasn't light or friendly. It was intimate. Secretive. The kind of laugh you share when you're doing something you shouldn't. I tiptoed closer. The door to the guest room was cracked open just enough for me to see. And in that single moment, my world shattered. There they were. Daniel. My husband. Naomi. My best friend. Together. In my house. In my bed. My knees buckled. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to scream, to burst through that door, to tear the betrayal right out of the air. But instead I stood frozen. Silent. Because in that silence, the truth sank in deeper than any scream could carry. I backed away slowly, heart pounding, tears streaming down my face. I stumbled into the bathroom, locking the door, my body shaking as though I'd been thrown into ice water. Why? Why them? Why her? I whispered. The next morning, Naomi showed up at my kitchen table with the same sweet smile she'd worn for years. She poured herself coffee like nothing had happened. Daniel kissed me on the cheek, pretending he'd worked late. And in that moment I realized something chilling. They thought I didn't know. But I did. And that secret became my weapon. Weeks went by. I watched them carefully. Their glances, their excuses, their lies layered on lies. Naomi began bragging when she thought I wasn't listening. I overheard her on the phone one afternoon, laughing with another friend. Clara has no idea. Poor thing. Once Daniel leaves her, we'll have everything. The house, the savings, even her father's inheritance when it comes through. She's too weak to fight back. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I wasn't weak. I wasn't powerless. And Naomi had no idea that the very thing she was plotting to take from me was something she could never ever get her hands on. From that day forward I began planning. Quietly. Patiently. Waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I wish I could tell you I was strong right away. That I snapped into action the second I heard Naomi's words. But the truth is, I broke. Nights became endless. I'd sit awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every smile, every girls' night Naomi and I had shared. Every time Daniel had held my hand and told me he loved me. It all replayed in my mind like cruel theater. Sophie noticed. One night she tugged at my sleeve, her big brown eyes filled with worry. Mommy. Why does Daddy never tuck me in anymore? Why is Auntie Naomi here so much? My throat closed. What could I possibly say? That her father was too busy betraying us to notice. That the woman she called Auntie was stealing the life we built. I forced a smile, kissed her forehead and whispered, "Daddy's just busy, sweetheart. But Mommy's right here." When Sophie finally drifted off, I cried until my chest ached. Because deep down, I knew the storm was only just beginning. Daniel grew bolder. He stopped hiding the late nights. Naomi started slipping little insults into conversations, testing how far she could push me. "Oh, Clara, you look so tired. Maybe you should let me help with Daniel. After all, he needs attention." Her smirk burned into my memory. Then came the final blow. One evening, Daniel sat me down. His face was cold, detached. The man I once loved was gone. "Clara," he said flatly, "this isn't working anymore. Naomi understands me in ways you don't. I think it's time we move on." Those words sliced through me. My hands trembled as I gripped the arm of the chair. Naomi's shadow appeared in the hallway, watching, waiting, enjoying every second of my destruction. I wanted to scream, to throw him out, to tell Sophie her father had chosen betrayal over family. But I didn't. I simply nodded, silent tears streaming down my face. Because in that moment, I knew something Naomi and Daniel did not. I wasn't done. Yet. They thought they had broken me. They thought they had won. But all they had really done was hand me the perfect stage for my revenge. After Daniel's announcement, the house felt different, colder. Naomi's perfume lingered in the air, mocking me. I cried at night, but in the morning I smiled. Because while they thought I was breaking, I was planning. The first step was money. Daniel assumed he had access to everything. The savings account, the house, even my father's inheritance. But quietly I went to the bank. I moved every cent that was rightfully mine into a private account under Sophie's name. I made sure Naomi's greedy little hands would never touch it. Next came the evidence. I bought a small recorder, slipped it under the couch, another one in the kitchen. Within days I had hours of recordings. Daniel whispering promises to Naomi, Naomi mocking me, the two of them plotting how to take everything. I kept my face calm, my voice steady. Naomi mistook my silence for weakness. Daniel thought my tears meant surrender. But in reality, every moment they spent laughing at me was another nail in the coffin I was building for them. One night, Naomi cornered me in the kitchen. She leaned against the counter, swirling a glass of wine like she owned the place. "You know, Clara," she purred, "it's really for the best. Daniel deserves happiness. And honestly, you should thank me. I'm giving him the love you couldn't." Her words burned. But I didn't scream. I didn't slap her. I simply smiled. A smile that made her hesitate for just a second. "Naomi," I whispered, "one day soon you'll realize you've taken something you can never give back." She laughed, but I saw the flicker of unease in her eyes. Weeks passed, and Daniel grew colder. Naomi moved in more openly. Sophie asked fewer questions. Children always know more than we think. And then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Letter. It was from my father's lawyer, confirming that the estate he left behind was being transferred fully into my name. Not Daniel's. Not Naomi's. Mine. They didn't know it yet, but everything they were scheming for was slipping out of their grasp. And that's when I realized. It was time to stop waiting. Time to stop crying. Time to show them exactly who they were dealing with. The night I chose to strike, the air felt heavy. Daniel was in the study, sipping whiskey. Naomi pranced around in my robe, humming to herself. I'd watched enough, heard enough, endured enough. I called them both into the living room. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what was about to happen. "Sit," I said. Daniel frowned. Naomi smirked. "Oh, Clara, this isn't necessary," Naomi cooed. "Why don't you just pack up quietly? Daniel and I will take care of Sophie. She'll be fine." That was it. The match that lit the fire. I reached under the coffee table, pulled out the small recorder and pressed play. The room filled with their voices. "Daniel, we'll push her out slowly, Naomi. She won't fight back. She's too soft. Naomi. Good. Once the house and inheritance are in our name, she's nothing. The color drained from Daniel's face. Naomi jumped up, her confidence crumbling. What is this? Daniel stammered. This, I said, my voice steady as steel, is evidence. Evidence I've already given to my lawyer, along with copies at the bank. Evidence that makes both of you look like liars, manipulators, and frauds. Naomi lunged for the recorder, but I pulled back. For the first time, Daniel saw me not as his quiet wife, but as his executioner. That was the first twist. They thought they had cornered me, but I had trapped them instead. But the second twist, that one they never saw coming. I stood up, walked calmly to the desk, and pulled out a thick envelope. This, I said, tossing it on the table, is my father's will. Doesn't just give me the house. It gives me controlling rights to his company. A company you, Daniel, were hoping to manage after forcing me out. Daniel froze. His face drained of all color. Naomi looked at him, horrified. You said, she stuttered. Oh yes, I interrupted, smiling coldly. He promised you wealth, power, future. But the truth is, Daniel has nothing to give. Because from this moment forward, every cent, every property, every connection belongs to me. Naomi snapped. You evil witch, she screamed, lunging toward me. Daniel tried to hold her back, but his own panic consumed him. I just stood there, calm, victorious, untouchable. And then I whispered the final dagger. You wanted my life, my husband, my home. Fine. Take them. But understand this. You'll live under my shadow forever. 'Cause I own everything you touch. And I'll make sure the world knows what you both are. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. They had no words left. That was the night the tables turned. Daniel and Naomi thought they'd stolen everything. But in reality, they'd handed me the power to destroy them both. Without lifting a finger. And the sweetest part. Their punishment was only beginning. The house was silent after my revelation. Naomi stared at Daniel with hatred in her eyes. Daniel avoided her gaze, his face pale, his hands trembling. For the first time I felt free. Truly free. I turned to walk away, my victory complete, when the sound of shattered glass froze me in my tracks. I spun back. Naomi had slammed her wine glass to the floor, shards glistening under the chandelier. Her eyes burned with something far darker than anger. You think you've won, Clara, she hissed. This isn't over. You don't know what I'm capable of. Daniel tried to grab her arm, but Naomi shook him off violently. She pointed at me, her voice trembling with rage. You destroyed everything I wanted. Well, I'll destroy everything you love. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Sophie. I rushed toward my daughter's room, my heart pounding, but the door was open. And the bed was empty. Naomi was gone. Sophie was gone. Revenge had made me powerful. But now, it had taken the only thing that mattered. I got confused and agitated. What should I do? Tell me in the comments what you would do if you were in Clara's shoes. Would you forgive or would you fight back? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter of this story.